Hey everyone, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 11, where this week we're not going to have as much of a linear conversation, but the main topic of this week is going to be just the dealing with the criticism and rumors of the DCEU. And this week, just to give you guys a heads up, I'm recording this little intro after we initially recorded. This week's, again, is a little less linear. We kind of did this one last minute, so we didn't have the discussion necessarily start at a certain point. We're just going to jump right into the podcast itself. And joining me this week, and first we didn't do the intro, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to hear who is speaking today, is going to be Fatma. She is Stay Awesome Gotham 22 on Tumblr. You have Jean, who's Batjectivity on Tumblr, and Lily from Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr, all of whom you've heard before on the podcast. So if you guys want to bear with me while we listen to the podcast, and thank you guys for listening, here we go. But yeah, in terms of like what's come out lately, I think the only big thing that's kind of come out in the last few days in terms of DCEU was that, like, I guess Joss was officially given writer credit for Justice League. And we all have kind of gone off on how we feel about it. I mean, I knew it was going to come at some point. Like, he's doing work on the movie, so he deserves, even whether I like it or not, he deserves some amount of credit for what he's doing. But at the same time, it's just like, I'd rather not have a cheating, fake feminist, doing this.
Yeah, he's gross.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. Like, I really don't. And I get so tired of, like, the billions of articles that keep saying how, like, oh, how big is Joss Whedon's role in doing these Justice League reshoots? And everyone keeps saying, oh my god. As I said that, I'm scrolling through Twitter right now, and, like, one of the first things I see is, how much of Justice League did Joss Whedon write? I'm like, are you serious?
Like, not any of it.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, like, the WGA, like the Writers Guild, and, like, they're kind of, like, the union of, the writers in Hollywood, I guess, like, they have some weird thing where if you write, like, 33% of the story, then you have to get writer's credit. I don't know, but I guess, like, because I've been looking at, like, Twitter and stuff lately, and it's been kind of, like, a discussion that there's been other writers who've written less and haven't gotten any credit, or written more and haven't gotten any credit. So I guess the Writers Guild is really weird when it comes to their rules and regulations for stuff like this. So have any of you guys had the chance to get Wonder Woman digitally yet?
No, I'm going to get it tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm gonna try to get it tomorrow. I mean, I have the version that, like, leaked online a while back of, like, it was almost HD except for, like, that weird number 12 in the corner. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I haven't actually sat down and watched it in a bit, so I'm kind of waiting to do the commentary with you guys.
Yeah, it'll be
that I'm excited for.
I'm gonna watch it with my mom and my sister.
Yeah.
I think
No, I'll get it Blu-ray. I'm not gonna get it digitally or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like for me, I like having both.
I'm so impatient that I have to have it now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, and I like that, like, movies nowadays are doing that, because I remember, like, when I was, like, a kid, I felt like it took, like, a year for a movie to come out on DVD.
I know, it like took 6 months, and now it's like less because of the digital.
Yeah, and honestly, and I like that, because it gives people, because, like, a lot of people, I feel like, don't even really have much, like people don't buy DVDs and Blu-rays as often as they used to, so it's nice for people who, like, just have it, like, readily available. And especially for me, too, because, like, I've been, like, traveling a lot lately, so it's nice being able to, like, have it digitally and not, like, have to, because my laptop doesn't have a DVD player, so I can't really, like, play this stuff on the go. So it is nice to have that. And I have, like, except for Suicide Squad, I have Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel already downloaded on my laptop and my phone, so I do gotta say, like, Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition in HD takes up so much space on my phone.
I bet it does.
It takes up over, like, 6 gigabytes alone, just for that movie.
We could talk about, like, all the ridiculous rumor mill, because
that could turn into, like, a 7-hour discussion.
Like, we should do this podcast on, like, what is it? The funniest rumors and the craziest rumors that DC has had to endure.
Oh god, I feel like we could just pull up the ones from, like, the last week, and that'll be enough to cover the whole thing, Because it is ridiculous, and that's something we always bring up. It's like, we literally can't go, like, more than a few days without there being some ridiculous rumor or report about how bad the production of Justice League is, or how bad of a director Zack Snyder is. Or, like, it's frustrating, and it's so dumb. Like, it's like, it's just really frustrating when all they do is promote, like, negative stories about the DCEU. Like, can't we just have something without there being bad news about the DCEU? Like, granted, I know a lot of people don't like the DCEU. Okay, whatever. Stop making every single damn story about how you hate the DCEU. We get it. We got it over a year and a half ago.
Jesus.
Like, it's seriously, it's like, do they really have nothing better to do with their time?
Yeah, and it's so ridiculous. Like, it's not even like plausibly that these rumors are spreading. It's just like absolutely one throwaway line leads to one article, which leads to a completely different story. Like, it's just an exercise in watching a rumor explode, and like a completely illogical rumor explode, and you're watching it on the internet. Like, how did this happen? This makes no sense. People are so stupid.
I know. Like, especially like when in the last few weeks, there's been a couple different instances where like something's like a director or like a person has said something about one of the movies and then it's blown out of proportion. Like when Matt Reeves was talking about the Batman like not being a part of the extended universe or whatever, everyone's like, "Oh, the Batman's not going to be the DCEU. That means Ben Affleck's out." And then even like Matt Reeves had to come out and be like, "Wait, what? No. That's not what I was saying at all. I'm just saying it's not like it's a standalone story and not including all the billions of characters." Like, and it's sad that a director has to come out and say that just because people take what he says out of context and blow it up for clicks.
Still doing the Man of Steel or BVS comics.
Yeah. What is the movie that we're gonna?
So just so I know what you guys voted. So what did you guys end up choosing? 'Cause I can go back and look, but what did you guys ultimately choose?
Choosing what? Voting what? What have I missed out on?
So
Yes, I am.
yeah. So we were I feel like I'm sorry. I feel like we kind of just talked about this like briefly over the last like week and a half or so. So basically, I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of like celebrate like us doing the podcast together, kind of get everyone together on a day where we're all available, and like either like sit down and just like watch Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel together, and just kind of just talk our way through it. Not necessarily record it, but just kind of like do it for fun for all of us.
But my vote is Batman v Superman, because then I get my Batman as well, and you get Superman.
Okay.
Best of both worlds.
Okay, so that's one vote for Batman vs Superman.
I like Superman. I love Superman. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Superman hater. I'm not one of those like absolutely crazy Batman fans, although I am probably. I
love Batman.
But like, I also love Batman. So if I can get best of both worlds, and you get like a taste of Wonder Woman, so
yeah.
Exactly. It's like the Trinity in one movie. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Until he gets asleep, obviously.
Yeah. So Gene, what's your vote?
Justice League.
I'm sorry. I voted Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. Okay.
Like,
no, that's fair. Like, I'm not gonna knock you either way if you choose Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman. Like, I love both movies. Don't get me wrong, but like, I love Man of Steel. It's always gonna be one of my favorite movies. But for me, like, Batman vs Superman, like, changed me.
I know.
like, and I feel like honestly, like, that was the point where like. Obviously, back in the day, like, you know, Fatman, like, you and I know this, cause back in, like, the Man of Steel positivity days, when it was kind of, like, just Man of Steel around, and, like, the fandom wasn't nearly as big as it is now, like, it was kind of a special time, but, like, once Batman vs. Superman was kind of coming around, and once it came out, like, the fandom kind of exploded, and now, like, we're all kind of in this together, and we're all dealing with this crap of, like, the internet rumors, and, like, all the negative press and stuff going on, that, like, and not even, like, talking about the movie, but, like, Batman vs Superman, like, kind of like, I feel like united us as a fan base, you know, for those of us who love the movie anyway. So I think for that, and like, of course, like, I love the movie, and especially the Ultimate Edition. I think for the longest time I was like fighting between what was my favorite Man of Steel or the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman, and I think now I can definitively say I think the Ultimate Edition is my favorite DCEU movie and favorite movie ever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to like Man of Steel or prefer Man of Steel over it, but like for me, just how I have experienced everything post Batman vs Superman, I like Man of Steel. Obviously, like it was for me being a Superman fan, I loved it, and I loved being part of the Man of Steel fandom on Tumblr and stuff. Like that was all great, and I was able to meet a lot of awesome people. You know, Fatman, you're one of them. But with Batman vs Superman, there's something different about it that kind of like helped because of like the negative critical reception of it, and everything, and it's just, I don't know, again, it's hard to put into words because I feel like I'm rambling, but it's an awesome experience to share with everyone, and I'm glad we were all there to experience that and to live this, you know.
No, I definitely agree. But just are we doing extended edition or theatrical cut?
I think Ultimate Edition. I think that's everyone's preference.
Yeah, well, mine's definitely the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, same here.
The theatrical cut, I watch it. If the theatrical cut is on somewhere, and I'm just like, what? Why did they miss this out? And
it's weird because like I loved the theatrical cut, but like as soon as the Ultimate Edition came out, like I've kind of like wrote off the theatrical cut. I'm like, oh, it doesn't really exist to me anymore.
Yeah.
Like now, like I strictly only watch the Ultimate Edition, like the theatrical cut. It's fine, like I enjoy it, but like because of how fleshed out everything was in the Ultimate Edition, like I can't like go back to the thing that didn't have everything I loved, you know.
Thing is, with the Ultimate Edition, it made Lois Lane look a lot better in the I don't know how to say this. I am extremely tired, as I've told you guys. She does shine more in the Ultimate Edition than she does in the theatrical cut. Like I don't agree with the crap that people have been like saying about Lois Lane in Batman v Superman, because she's an awesome character, but I understand where they come from because of the way it's edited and the lack of Lois's work that she put in, how she spoke to I don't know what her character name is, the bullet girl.
Oh yeah. Jenna Malone's character.
Jenna Malone's character, and that part there showed like, yeah, she is an investigative journalist. She is working. She does do her thing. This is her like strength in the movie. This is why she's important in this movie. And then when she found out about the lead in the chair, and then she tried all her best with trying to make sure that Lex was actually, you know, at the end of the day, she had evidence and proof that Lex was the one who was behind all of this, and her work led to Lex being, you know, arrested. So in the theatrical cut, it shines a light on that a lot more, and it shows Clark being an investigative journalist when he was going to Gotham, and like, I know it's in the movie, but it's a bit more in detail in that one as well. So to me, that cut is best. Although, guys, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
About Lois Lane and Batman v Superman. Right, I get everything. She's great. I don't think she's a damsel in distress. Lex literally wanted her to fall off the roof just so he can catch the attention of Superman. That was obvious. It wasn't just, you know, Snyder trying to make her seem like she's a hopeless, like, what is it? What's the character trope that they call her? The damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Not just that. There's another word for it. However, the one thing that really annoyed me that she did was throw the spear in the water. Like, couldn't she just hide the spear somewhere else where she didn't have to like go into the water for? It just took a lot of time. That is the one criticism that I have about this movie, is when she threw the spear in the water. It wasn't required. Like, if she wanted to get rid of it, she could have put it somewhere else. She could have hid it somewhere else, to me. And that just like really just
like, that's a criticism to me that like a lot of people have had, but for me, I see that scene as like, she doesn't know what's about to happen with Doomsday. Like, she doesn't think there's going to be a need for this weapon to be around to potentially kill the man she loves. So she, like, I don't, like, in that scene, I mean, like, it does take, that scene does take a lot of time with her, you know? Like, it's, like, the last battle, majority of it she spends in that area alone, is trying to get the water, or get the spear out of the water, and all of that. But for me, again, until she sees Doomsday and what's going on, she's completely unaware of the fact that, like, that weapon's going to be needed again. So for her, like, in that moment, I'm like, I can see why she would throw it in the water, because no one would go looking for it there, and by the time they would find it, you know, like, I see that as, like, okay, like, I understand where she's coming from. Like, I probably would have done the same thing. But then everyone's, like, when people, and yourself included, I'm not knocking you for this, when, you know, people criticize her having to go back for it, and then it just takes up more time, like, when it's a little unnecessary. again, she didn't know that it was going to be needed when she initially threw that in. So when she has to go back, that's when she's like, "Oh, crap! I screwed up. Now I need to go get it." Like again, it does take up time away from the fight, and like people could say it's unnecessary, whatever. But for me, I get why she did that in that moment, so I don't necessarily think it's ridiculous or dumb or anything. That's just my thoughts personally.
No, but that's the reason that you've given.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't like that whole scene of like Lois throwing the spear in the water. Doesn't that tie in more to like the symbolic reason of like I don't know, having the Lady of the Lake symbol the Lady of the Lake symbolism, like in line with how the movie parallels I think it was Camelot.
Oh yeah. Like Excalibur.
Yeah, no, sorry, Excalibur. Sorry.
No, yeah. But I know where you're going with that. Yeah, and that's something that was brought up. There was someone else who had, back when we did our Batman vs Superman commentary, that's up on my YouTube channel, or whatever, and it was me, Katie, and this other girl, Cassidy, who's Dr. Truth on Tumblr. She brought that up as the scene was coming up. She was calling Lois the Lady of the Lake, and I think that was kind of intentional by Zach. And again, I don't think he was intentionally trying to make it seem like Lois was dumb for having to go back to grab the spear and throw it there in the first place. I think that was kind of intentional. And again, for me, I don't see that as like dumb or anything, or takes too much time away from the fight or whatever. Like, because I think in that moment, Lois did what she thought she was doing to protect the man she loves by getting rid of this thing that could potentially kill him. So for me, I didn't take it as anything other than that. So when I saw how many people were bothered by that, I'm like, oh, like, I understand, like, not everyone's gonna love every single scene in the movie, but like, I just didn't get the amount of hate that particular moment got, because I'm like, well, what should she have done? How was she supposed to know that, you know, she was gonna need the spear again later? Like, I don't know. That's again just my thoughts on that personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch of logic, but not a huge one.
Yeah.
I think. Like when trying to do like apologetics for like what actually happens in terms of like, I don't know.
I get the reasons that you've given. I still think it's a really stupid thing. Like, I'm not stupid, and not stupid on her. It's just, to me, I'm like, because, and I know you love that person, but this thing is a rare art. But then again, see, I'm conflicted, because that's the only thing in Batman v Superman that really grinds me down. I'm just like, why? He could have lived an extra few minutes if those extra few minutes didn't take that long. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I get, right, it makes sense. Because if I was trying to protect, let's say, Sammy, and then, you know, I'd remove the thing away as far away as possible. But yeah, okay, fair enough. See,
I'm
a die-hard fan of this movie and this whole series. So that part, every time I see it, I'm just like, Superman could have lived like a few more minutes.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, Superman kind of knew that he was going to end up needing the spear again. Because remember when Superman flies down right before they start the fight, he's like, you know, did you find the spear? And then that's when Batman's like, oh, I've been a little busy. Like, they both know that they need the spear in order to get it. So either way, they would have used that spear. And I feel like, you know, like, that ending probably would have happened either way. Except, if anything, Superman would have lived longer if Wonder Woman hadn't chopped Doomsday's arm off and created that bone protrusion thing that killed Superman. I mean, you could say that.
Yeah.
But see, like, in these moments, like,
I just didn't want him to die.
Yeah, no, that just comes from us fans being, like, we're super analytical about a lot of these things. So, like, we'll find things like, oh, to prevent this, they could have just easily done this, but also, when you think realistically, in those moments, those characters they're being reactionary to what's going on, so they'll have a lot of time to like, think through exactly like what's gonna happen after they do that thing. Like with Wonder Woman, like when she chopped off Doomsday's arm, she didn't know that was gonna happen and kill Superman. And then when, like we just said, when Lois threw the spear down there, she didn't think that she was going to need it again. So in these things, everything kind of has a consequence. When they do these things, there is, and I think that's, again, an intentional thing on Zach's part, that when we look at these movies, that he does these things intentionally because, again, these are characters who aren't perfect. Like, Lois threw that down there and realized, oh crap, now I have to go back. And that was kind of more or less, you can say that was a mistake on her part, but also she didn't know. Same thing with Wonder Woman. In that moment, she chops off Doomsday's arm and then it grows back and kills Superman. She didn't know. So in those moments, I think those intentional story bits from Zack showing that, again, these characters will make mistakes, and their actions will have unforeseen consequences. And very much so.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest example of that, maybe like in Man of Steel, in Superman kind of hiding himself from the world, and when he accessed the scout ship, that his actions like caused Zod and the Kryptonians to come to Earth in the first place. And those are from Superman's actions, and they're unintentional, of course. He didn't know that was going to happen, but his actions led to them coming there. And I think that's been present in both Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel. I think those are intentional on Zack's part, that like these actions do have unforeseen consequences that could lead to potentially bad things, I don't know, those are just that's my
No, I agree. It makes it seem a bit more real. Well, not realistic. I don't like using realistic. Cause,
No, yeah, it's superheroes, but yeah.
Because superheroes, like, would we really have them? Yeah. But it makes it seem more realistic. Oh, did I just use that again?
No, I mean,
I don't know. There's I agree. The way you explained it now just made it more stand. Not that it was hard to begin with, but I'm just having like a derp moment.
No, yeah, and of course, like there are moments in that movie where like it's harder for me to watch. Like, I love Batman vs Superman, don't get me wrong, but for me, some of the hardest parts to see are when Batman and Superman are fighting in it, because it's not like a pretty fight. It's not like I look forward to watching Batman and Superman kick the crap out of each other. And oddly enough, like there are other movies where like, yeah, superheroes fighting the bad guys, whatever. But when it's two characters that you care about so much beating each other, like especially with Batman trying to intentionally kill Superman, for me it makes me feel uncomfortable. And also again, that was intentional on Zack's part. Like, that fight isn't supposed to be a pretty fight. It's not supposed to be like a glamorous thing of like, oh, Superman fighting Batman, everything's gonna be okay. I mean, you kind of figure everything's going to be okay by the end, but in that moment, it's a brutal and ugly fight. And for me, when I'm watching that movie, that's kind of the one part where I'm like, ooh. It's just kind of hard for me to watch in that moment because of how uncomfortable the fight kind of makes me feel in that aspect, Like, I think we all have like those kinds of moments in the movie that make us feel at least somewhat uncomfortable, but I think in this case with Batman vs. Superman, those are kind of intentional.
No, I agree, because when I was watching it in the opening night, and I knew that the fight was happening, I've seen the trailer and everything, but it was so hard for me to stomach. I was like, I love Superman and I love Batman. Why are you making me feel like I need to take sides? I would take Batman's side any day because I'm like a Batman fan, but it was really hard for me to sit there and watch them beat the hell out of each other. It was just
me too. I still cringe sometimes watching it because it's like, okay.
I'm just like, stop, guys! Stop! You're both being naughty boys. Stop! It's kind of like two kids fighting.
It's like this. This movie, like that fight, is not supposed to be fun to watch. I don't know what kind of world you live in where you watch two people fighting and you're okay with it. Like, no, it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the whole. Like I mean, I've never actually seen a fight happen in real life, but I kind of imagine that if a fight that brutal ever went down, this is exactly how you would be feeling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't want to intervene and get hurt yourself, so it's like, oh crap, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's also like the movie kind of stands out more than other superheroes movies, especially like for me, like Civil War, because like. I feel like in Civil War, again, I don't mean to like keep bashing Marvel, but one of the reasons why like I didn't love that movie was when you look at that airport fight sequence in Civil War, like the stakes aren't there. Like I feel like they're just fighting for the sake of fighting.
That's how I felt too. I'm like, I love Cap and all these characters, but it just I was just there for whatever reason. It would really stick with me, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just it's like it's cool just to see the superheroes fighting and stuff, but there was what real reason was there for them to fight each other? Like, are they really so? Like, do they really not want to listen to what each other's have to say? Do they really have to fight it out? Like, does that really solve anything? Like, I don't. But and then looking at Batman vs Superman, like that fight, like, and it's not a pretty fight, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you're really wondering why are these two people fighting each other like this? Because that's the point, is that it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to like have a reaction to it, you know, like. So for me, like when I'm watching Batman vs Superman again, even though that's one of my least favorite parts of the movie, it's not because it's bad, but it's because it makes me have a certain like emotional reaction to it that makes me feel uncomfortable in that aspect. You know, so because by the end, like when the Martha Steel ultimately comes, and then when Bruce realizes what he's done and like how low he's really sunken, then you feel like the fight had weight to it because then Bruce is finally able to realize, oh my God, what have I been doing? Like I almost killed someone. You know, like I almost became the thing I set out to stop. So for me, like watching that, like again, I felt like the fight had stakes, whereas other movies don't. Like it's like action for the sake of action, and I feel like in these movies, especially with Zach's movies, that the action is like it's not action for the sake of action. Like there's meaning behind it. Like when people say like, oh, like the fight in Man of Steel was dragged out way too long. Well, what else is gonna happen when you have two aliens fighting each other and one's hell-bent on destroying the human race? You know? At least those are... It's just... I don't know. Like, that's just like the whole, like... People criticizing Man of Steel for the amount of action it has. That's one of the many criticisms that just always annoyed me ever since that movie came out.
Yeah, like every part of that entire action sequence, like all the action sequences in Man of Steel, like, okay, it feels long because it's just pretty much one after the other, but each fight in itself is pretty self-contained, and it's like the timing is not like over long or anything. It's just that
it feels,
you know,
like
each part of the fight makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, maybe an overall impression of it is that it's too much, but like if you try to break it down, like each scene just makes perfect sense, and it's like framed perfectly, and maybe it might not be so great because there's not like comedy moments or something, but man, this is a brutal fight, you know, and of course it's gonna last long, and of course it's gonna include a lot of property damage and stuff, because, you know, you've got General Zod, who's like, he doesn't care about humanity. He's actively trying to make it worse. Whereas on the other hand, we have Superman, who is trying to like drag the fight away from the metropolitan areas, trying to drag the fight into space. And, you know, if you break down the scenes, that's exactly what's going on. Even though people might be complaining like, oh, Superman isn't doing enough. Like, well, it's his first fight against anyone who's ever come close to his strength. Oh, so of course he's gonna come out at the bottom. You know, he's never fought anyone in his life at this point. It's like, of course that he's gonna lose the fight, and because his opponent is actively trying to destroy buildings, of course he's gonna be slammed into a building face first. You know, I don't know.
No, yeah, and again, that's fair. It's just for me, it's. I don't know, and especially looking at the opening of Batman vs. Superman, when you see Bruce in Metropolis, that fight isn't nearly as long as people think it is. Because when you look at, you know, the way that the Man of Steel was edited, it's kind of from a few different perspectives. You know, so it seems like it's longer than it is, but when you look at Man of Steel, or we look at the beginning of Batman vs. Superman in real time, the fight, again, isn't nearly as long as it seems it is. So that kind of like crushes that criticism almost immediately. So that's why for me, like it's hard to take a lot of these, you know, these fans when they're bashing that part of it. I'm like, you can't take them seriously because Batman vs. Superman crushed that criticism. Like, oh, the fight was way too long, and blah 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 blah. Like, look at Batman vs. Superman. That was all in real time. That was all what, like a couple of minutes, you know. And then when people bring on the the other criticism that, oh, well, where was Wonder Woman throughout that entire fight? Like, why didn't she step up and try to help humanity and blah 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 blah? Again, that fight, everything happened within minutes, so she had no way of really getting there in time to really make a difference. You know, like other than like the obvious fact of like it's a Superman movie and Wonder Woman doesn't really need to be in it, and also they hadn't cast Wonder Woman, all that stuff. Other than like the realistic reasons as to why Wonder Woman wasn't in it, there was realistically she couldn't have been there like people thought. You know, like it would have been interesting to see where Diana was in that time. Like where was she while these events were going on? Realistically, when people were like, "Oh, see, like why there's all these people in the universe now? Like where were they during all this?" Like it's not a real criticism because again, everything that happened in Man of Steel happened within minutes. And then when people were criticizing like, oh, like this Superman isn't my Superman and blah blah blah, like Man of Steel, like the majority of that movie, like the core story of that movie all happens within a couple of days. So when people were criticizing, oh, he's not my Superman and blah blah blah, he literally just became Superman within the course of like a day and a half. Like he put on the suit and then Zod came. Like he was forced.
He was forced to make himself known to the world before he was ready because duty called him to, because like Zod appeared and he felt like he had to step forward to save the world. Like if that's not the most Superman thing, like just like he wasn't ready. He like it was clear that he was gonna like train first and like get more used to the Superman persona. I don't think he was really aiming to make a public debut. Like if you watch like the Smallville movie, they're all talking about how he needs to make himself known to the world and stuff like that. And that's like a really important priority for him. But for like Man of Steel Superman, it like all the dialogue and all the scenes preceding like the appearance of Zod is just him wanting to test his limits, him wanting to help people, and like talking about like making an entrance on the world stage wasn't really an issue for him yet, right? And he was still testing his powers, like he just learned how to fly, so like he wasn't ready to step up and be this world superhero that he became, like by Batman v Superman. And like he did it because Zod asked him to turn himself over for the sake of humanity. Like he did it for humanity's sake. He did it to cooperate with the US government. He did it for the people of Earth. And like, I mean, how is that not your Superman?
Literally nothing from nothing from the criticisms that have been given towards Man of Steel make any sense to me. Like, the movie is self-explanatory. Why is he not your Superman? He saves as much as he possibly can. He was rebelling against his father when his father told him, don't show your powers. Yet he still tried to save people. He saved an entire bus. Even when he wasn't even in a character or anything. Like, what do you expect when you've got superpowers like Superman and superpowers like Zod and fighting against each other? And he tried to take the fight all the way to space, and then Zod brought him back in because Zod wanted the destruction. Yep. Superman didn't want it.
See, like this is what these criticisms do to us.
Man of Steel was so unnecessary and so pointless and so stupid that it makes no sense to me. And I don't know, I think Nick, you were there with us, and I think Story Advocate, who is
Katie, yeah.
Katie, yeah. Do you remember way back when, even before Batman v Superman, I don't know if you, Lily and Jean were with us as well as Tumblr blogs, not before we did any of this, but there was so much vitriol and hate towards Man of Steel in DCEU before BVS came out, and then obviously it just like exploded after BVS because it's such a polarizing movie and people don't really get concepts of anything anymore unless it's being fed to them like a baby. We had to create a positivity tag, and like I've never seen anyone in any fandom have to do that because it's just so horrible.
Yeah.
Like one thing that bothers me, and
tag. Do you remember Nick?
oh god, yeah, I totally remember those days. That was back when like the fandom was really like small, and like every day I felt like we were still fighting the people who were criticizing Man of Steel, and like that's how we all came together, was because every day there was some new person like bashing us or like bashing Snyder, and we're like, can you guys just stop? And like we created the positivity tag because that was the one place we thought for a while that people would leave us alone and we could have a place to, you know, share our love for Man of Steel and love that movie without getting so much hate on. And then even now, it was yeah.
It was like a tag. Now it sounds like, you know, what a conservative would call a millennial snowflake because you need a positive space. No, it wasn't that. But if you wanted to, like, get a picture of Superman or, like, see videos or see some metas or see some whatever it was that was positive about the movie, you would have to scroll down through so much hate, so much, like, nasty posts that it was just ridiculous, that it was necessary to create this. It's not because we didn't feel safe, because we still saw the crap that we saw. It's just because it was really mean. And at that time the DC fandom was absolutely small on Tumblr. I didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much, I would say there's probably maybe like at most like 25, 30 of us on a regular basis posting.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like,
and then
yeah.
And then after Batman v Superman got all of that hate, I just like, and obviously I didn't have time and I was busy with other things in life. I just haven't been spending as much time as I'd love to on Tumblr and keeping up with a lot of the DC news. I just keep up with Twitter here and there and what I get from you guys every time I read the conversations. But it's just like, that used to be my thing. And then all the crap that people gave towards DC was just, yeah. So Man of Steel was a beautiful movie. I loved it. It was great to watch.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why people don't get the basic concepts of it.
Yeah, I know. It's like I can understand maybe like, okay, like maybe like superhero movies aren't your thing. Whatever, that's fine. Like I'm not. I do my best not to like criticize anyone who doesn't like DCEU movies, because, you know, like, movies are art and art is subjective, and that's fine. But when you like viciously attack a fan base or a movie just because you don't like it, like, do you really have nothing better to do with your time? Like, couldn't you do anything better and it'd be a better use of your time? Like, go outside, take a walk, like, maybe go to the beach, go do something, go see another movie that you like. There's so many better things you can be doing with your time. Like, that's what, like, there was, the other day I was scrolling through Tumblr, and this guy that I blocked, I noticed he had tagged me in some post talking about how, like, that we as Zack Snyder fans are just like Trump supporters, that like we're blindly following Zack in the DCEU, and we're like, we don't realize how bad the movies are. And he keeps using like the DC positivity and Man of Steel positivity and like Zack Snyder positivity tags to purposely piss us off. And like, people like that have this to say, like, I seriously, okay, excuse my language, but seriously, you're fucking pieces of shit and you guys need to get a life. Like, I don't care, like, if you're just doing that because you're just trying to be funny. You're not funny. You're pathetic. You're a loser. You clearly have nothing better to do with your time. Again, take a walk outside. Go find a girlfriend or find a boyfriend, whatever your preference is. I don't care. Do something better with your time, because honestly, it makes you look pathetic, and you're like a waste of space here on the internet. So seriously, if you have nothing else to do with your time, seriously, just you can literally do nothing. Just do nothing. Just sit at home, do nothing. Like, why must you feel the need to criticize people who love a movie? Like, what is so wrong with that? No, just my whole point is that the people who criticize the DCEU and DCEU fans, seriously, find something better to do with your time. We're just here to talk about the movies we love. Like, sometimes we'll bash Marvel, and I do feel bad about that. Like, I don't mean to always bash Marvel, and that's not fair when I'm talking about positivity.
We don't really bash them, though. We just point out some of the flaws.
Yeah, and
yeah, sucks or whatever.
Yeah, and we aren't doing it to be mean or to be like, oh, you know, fuck Marvel or whatever. But we're just like, in comparison, it's as DC fans, like, obviously when fans constantly compare the DCEU to Marvel, it's almost impossible to go into a discussion and not bring up Marvel in some capacity. So I do my best to try to be positive. Like, again, I do enjoy Marvel movies. I don't enjoy them as much as I used to because I'm not a blind supporter of them like I was at one point. But it's just, again, if you just find, it's in general, whoever you are out there, DC, Marvel fan, whatever, just do something positive with your life and your time. Like, it does nothing better for the world for you to be a dick. That's all I have to say about that. Like, especially when there's so much hate already in the world between racism and homophobia, Islamophobia, everything going on, especially in a world where Donald Trump is president.
Oh,
like,
God, help us all.
I know. Like, there's what you say can matter, and just like if you could just devote your time to something more positive, maybe like donate $10 to the Hurricane Harvey relief or something like that, or like donate to charity, maybe help out at a church or something, or maybe like be a volunteer for some youth program. I don't know, if you could do just something positive with your time, it maybe help someone across the street, maybe like hold the door open for someone. That's way better than taking the time to bash fans of a movie that you don't like.
Yeah, that doesn't bring any good.
Yeah, like it doesn't
waste time, really.
Yeah, like you're wasting your time and everyone else's. So those just my little rant on people who just have nothing better to do with their time. So I don't mean to always like cuss out and do all these things. It's just being a DCEU fan, we become really passionate about the things we like. So when dealing with people like that, I get really heated because I'm so tired of dealing with that stuff. And especially when that guy I was just talking about, he purposely tagged a bunch of us and is using the positivity tags to attack us.
That is so sad. He must have no life.
I imagine not, because like I looked at his blog and I didn't even realize he was doing this because I blocked him. The only reason why I looked was because Coming Up for Blair had posted something about like, oh, this is the guy you need to block, and I looked at this guy, I'm like, oh, I've never seen his stuff before, and then I'm like, oh, because I blocked him. So I'm looking through all this stuff, it's literally all anti-DCEU, anti-Zack Snyder stuff, him comparing us to Trump fans, or Trump supporters.
No.
First of all, how in the hell are we comparable in any way to Trump supporters? Seriously.
We're not that same.
We're not the same in any way whatsoever. Like, just because we like a movie that makes us equal to people who support a sexist, racist, bigoted piece of shit?
Ugh, gross.
Like, seriously, like, I try not to get too political here, but I hate Donald Trump, and I hate the idea of people thinking that DCEU fans are as bad as Trump supporters. Or Trump in general.
Which is ridiculous to even think about.
Anyway, guys, I have to leave. It's really nice talking to you guys. And
Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's nice having you here, and hopefully we'll have you around next time.
Last two podcasts.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we were able to at least do this one with you, because I know, like, scheduling this podcast is a bit of a hassle, considering everyone's availability and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be around next time, and next week, hopefully we'll be doing an all DCEU podcast where all we're going to be doing is talking about the women of the DCEU, so that should be fun.
And future women and
Yay!
Catwoman.
I want Catwoman and Hot Girl. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
All right, and I can't wait to talk about it with you. So have a good rest of your day, Fatma. I was glad you were able to join us.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right,
Love
have a
you
good
guys.
one. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And now there's 3.
Yeah.
We really need to make sure more people are here.
I know, it's almost weird not having as many people, because I feel like I'm so used to us like trying to accidentally interrupting each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, the more the merrier. Always,
No, me too. That's why I've been trying to like expand the group a little more and included Amber and I invited Coming Up for Blair, and
Yes,
I just like being able to include more
like,
people in the discussion.
Another person that I'm a fan of.
She's fangirling.
Yeah.
I'm in this podcast just like rolling around fangirling because like all you bloggers who are like regular meta posters and like stuff like that, and I'm just here like, hi, I am that silent person who you are kind of mutuals with because I reblog all your stuff.
No, yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's just, for me, Katie, and Fatma, and even Danielle, like we've all been like through like the trials, you know, being a Man of Steel fan in the early days of that being a thing, and then going in Batman vs Superman. So like we've all been through this together for a while now. So some of us, you know, that's why it's nice to be able to do something like this, because like even though like I've been following, you know, like Fatma and Danielle and Katie for a long time, like up until we started this podcast, we had never really like had the chance to really discuss all of this in a matter like this, you know, like we had maybe messaged each other a couple times or like commented on each other's posts or reblogged and added to something, you know, but it's never been more than that, you know. But now, like, that's why one of the reasons I'm glad I was able to start this with everyone is to give everyone like the place to kind of geek out and kind of just talk about whatever they want in terms of the DCEU, you know. Or maybe even like, and maybe talk about, you know, Taylor Swift coming in, you know. That's why, you know, I'm glad you guys are part of the group too. You guys are really smart and intelligent, so I'm glad you guys have things to say.
Well, for me, I've liked Man of Steel since it came out, but I didn't start vlogging about this stuff till like maybe early last year, since BBS came out. But I totally revamped my Tumblr, so now it's just mostly DC stuff.
Yeah, same.
I just I love it. I'm glad to be a part of this fandom. I love it.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you here too. And the funny thing too, kind of talking about that, like when I first got on Tumblr, I was just posting like aesthetic stuff. Like I was posting like black and white cities, reblogging stuff like that. Very like any person who barely knows what Tumblr is, that's what I was at the time. I didn't really like post. I wasn't like, part of any fandoms. Like it was a very like boring blog. Like that's pretty much all I was.
Random. It was just music stuff that I liked, and like movies, and yeah. So for me, like it was when Man of Steel came out, and like at the time, like, and my friends aren't really into superhero movies all that much, and they know I love DC and superheroes in general. So like they probably got heard enough of me geeking out all the time. So like my friend recommended, hey, just go on Tumblr, because he was getting really into Tumblr at the time, and he had like thousands of followers. But his Tumblr is weird. His is more like aesthetic stuff and just like posting really crazy posts and GIFs and stuff. So his is way different than mine. He's like, you know, just like maybe spend all the time on your Tumblr, and then I did, and like it took a while, but like now like I have like a couple thousand followers, and that's awesome. And like now I have the place to like really be myself and talk to you guys and kind of hang out with you guys over the internet, and it's fun and it's awesome. Like, and it's nice that we have a place like that, because otherwise, like. Yeah. Honestly, and growing up, I was like super like shy and introverted too. So for me, like Tumblr was my way of being more outgoing and being more social without having that like the awkwardness of like being in person and me being like hi. Because if you would meet me in person, like I'm not nearly as shy as I used to be, but I'm still a little like introverted and like reserved. Yeah, I'm the same way. This podcast has helped me like be a better speaker with people. Like I don't generally talk to people, strangers outside of work. Like it's hard for me to talk to people, but this has helped me quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So thanks.
Yeah, it's no problem. And again, I'm glad like this has been able to do that for you. And it's that's why I'm saying it's just nice to we all have this place to like be ourselves and not be afraid of like judging one another or like bashing one another. This is a place of just positivity and just kind of letting each other be ourselves, and that was the ultimate goal of doing this. We can all just kind of be ourselves and just geek out and just talk about whatever without anyone jumping in and being like DC sucks and blah blah blah.
I'm lucky enough to have friends that actually like these movies. Like my roommate, who also happens to be my best friend, is a huge Superman fan. Mm-hmm. So she loved Man of Steel too. So I was like, oh my god, thank God for you. She liked all these other movies too as well. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my god, I don't have to disown you. I'm just kidding.
And it's funny for me because it's kind of the opposite. We're like, other than like my little brothers, most people in my life aren't the biggest fans of the DCEU. So, like, other than my brothers, like, Tumblr and the podcast are kind of like my only places to really geek out and talk about the DCU and everything that's going on. Like, I'll talk to my fiance about like last week when we were talking about like the potential of DC doing their like Elseworlds thing and starting with a Joker origin movie. And I was like, ugh, DC, what are you doing? We don't need a Joker origin story. Like, we have Jared Leto, because now people are going to use this as a way to get Jared Leto out of being, it's...
Wait, so it's confirmed that it's going to be a Joker movie? Because, like, there's so many rumors that I'm just so confused at this point about what's true.
As far as I know, it's in the development stages that Martin Scorsese is supposed to be producing.
Oh, alright.
And that The Hangover...
But it's not a Joker and Harley movie, right?
No,
like,
that was something different. Like, that was a rumor that was, like, with Jared Leto's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn having their own standalone movie, which... In the midst of everything that was going on last week, I'm like, oh, we don't need a billion Joker movies. Like, I liked Jared Leto's Joker, and I wouldn't mind another standalone Joker movie at some point, but there's just too much going on right now.
I know, there's so many other characters to explore, and yet no Poison Ivy or Catwoman or Green Lantern, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just more Joker stuff, which, okay. Alright.
And that's why, like, again, they're all rumors and, like, it's early stages of development or whatever it is. But DC, there are other characters outside of the Batman universe that I wish they would explore. Like, I want, like, a Man of Steel 2. I want to see maybe, like, a Titans movie, or, like, I don't like. I'm looking forward to Green Lantern Corps and Cyborg and all and the Flashpoint and all these other things. But they're like, oh, you guys want all of that? Here's another Joker movie.
Batman stuff, and I love Batman.
No, yeah, me too. I love Batman. Don't get me wrong. It's just look, we had the Dark Knight trilogy for a while, and those are great. Those are good movies, but we don't need to keep going back to Gotham City for everything. Like the DCEU or the DC universe in general is bigger than Gotham. Like, between everything, look, between Batman vs Superman, Justice League, the Gotham TV show, Suicide Squad, Gotham City Sirens, all that stuff. Those are all Batman-related media going on right now. And then you have all the other Batman animated stuff that's come out and looked and been terrible. Between the Killing Joke and
animated movies, like there's a new Batman animated movie called Gotham by Gaslight. It's
that one,
like 1900. It looks good, but I'm just like. There's honestly, other characters you can explore,
Yeah, and even like this is like a subtle thing too. Like, you guys know, like I love like Funko Pop figures, and I love collecting them. But like Funko Pop has a Batman problem in that they have so many billions of different Batman pops, and yet there's so many DC characters that they still haven't done yet. Like, they're just barely doing a Lex Luthor for the first time. They still haven't done a Lois Lane. They've only done like 2 Catwoman or 3 Catwoman pops ever, and like there's just so many other characters they could do. Again, this is talking about like Funko, not DC in general, but it's kind of relates. But I'm just saying, like, to go off that point again, there are characters other than the Batman universe characters that could be explored.
And like I said, I love Batman. He's like my favorite, but I would like to see other characters. There's so many great characters they could explore, but we just keep coming back to Batman for some reason. Yeah.
Just because he's the most bankable superhero, and then they think, everything that revolves around Batman's going to be great, and that could be true. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's just there's more to the DC universe than Batman. That's just my whole point with that whole thing. And again, all the stuff going on with the Joker movie, and Joker and Harley and all this other stuff, like, that might not even happen, but because of everything that was going on last week, it was just rumor after rumor after rumor after rumor. I'm like, oh my god, can this stop? Like, it was just so much, and I would just like there to be no drama for the DCEU from movie to movie. Like, just post news and strictly news. I'm tired of the rumors and the reports of everything else going on. Just let me know what's going on with no bias, no opinions. Just let me know this is who's playing who, this is who's directing what, this is when this is coming out. That's it. I don't want the opinion based, like, what the DCEU could look like moving forward with Joss Whedon's direction. Like, no, I don't give a fuck about Joss Whedon. Like, I don't care. Like, just tell me what's going on without there being like, oh, there's trouble during this because we heard there's a 50-page rewrite of Justice League, says one of the guys from Collider Movie Talk. Like, no, like, what? It's just, and especially when all of these sites are running with like basis stories with like sources who aren't even reliable. When you have like sources like Batman on film as your source for things, that's not a reliable story or source.
That's not news.
So it's just,
it's aggravating.
Yeah. Just being a DCEU fan, we really have to we have to have a lot of patience and self-control in terms of our behavior when it comes to stuff like this. Yeah. So I think, So with that being said, I mean, again, did you guys have anything else you guys wanted to bring up? Because I'm pretty ranted out.
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
Yeah.
I could just rant about the rumor stuff for a century because
Me too. Because there's so much going on. It's frustrating.
And it's just like incessant. It's just like, again, you're doing this again. How stupid do you need to be? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Maybe I just sound whiny, but it's just so exhausting to like just see everyone just working so hard to defend against all the rumors again. Like, do we really need to be having to do this?
Yeah, it's just we're tired of it, but I feel like unless like the next DC movies all get like 90+% of the Rotten Tomatoes, it's gonna keep happening. It's a sucky thing to deal with, but it's gonna keep happening for I think for as long as the DCEU exists, because people want it to fail. People don't like this universe for whatever reason, and they just want Marvel to succeed. I think a lot of it people just want Marvel to succeed and DC to fail, because they look what Marvel's doing as like that's the only type of movie universe that can work, is funny, lighthearted, and bad villains that we can deal with. It's like, but people just want that, and they don't want anything different. Like, they want more of the same thing. They want white bread, but there's other. But it's like, compared to, there's other types of bread. There's sourdough. There's whole wheat. There's all like there's more to the universe than just that particular type of movie. So I think that's why I think for as long as the DCU is going to be going and keep making the films that they're making, they're gonna get like the rumors and the criticism they're always going to be there. So it's something we have to deal with as fans.
No, but like, okay, the most upsetting thing to me is that a very large part of pop culture just seems to be accepting that as fact that Batman v Superman was bad. And I just, like, even like people, like after Wonder Woman came out and people started being a bit more positive towards the DCEU, it's still just a matter of talking to someone going, yeah, I love Wonder Woman, but Batman v Superman is just bad. Can we all just agree on that? And I'm just like on the other end of the conversation, like silently fuming, but not wanting to stop.
Just shut up.
Yeah, I'm like, shut up. Don't talk to me about this. No.
Wonder Woman.
That's not. I don't accept that. It's just so frustrating that maybe it might have just cemented BVS's like reputation in popular culture that is like not a great movie, that even if like the DCEU gets open inverted commas better in future movies, that like people will still think badly of this movie, which is just horrible, because like as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and that's why like there's like, not everyone said this who loved Wonder Woman, but there are so many people who were like so happy that Wonder Woman was like, when it was the first cinematic version of her character and blah blah blah. I'm like, did you not see her in Batman vs Superman? Because she was in that movie too.
Yeah.
Like, like people keep acting like her first appearance in Wonder Woman, or her first appearance was in her movie. I'm like, no, she had a pretty significant part in Batman vs Superman. Maybe you didn't see it, but that doesn't mean that movie doesn't exist. I don't know, like I am happy that Wonder Woman is doing what it's doing in terms of like bringing more people into the DCEU and like being the first female-led, female-directed superhero movie. Like, I'm very happy for that, but at the same time, it has brought on like even more criticisms and more of like this is what the DCEU needs to be doing. Like, it's, again, stuff like that, it's never going to end as long as the DCEU is around. Because even if, like, from this point on, every movie in the DCU is going to be, like, critically acclaimed and make $1 billion, they're still going to be like, but look how they failed with Batman vs. Superman. Like, it's all...
That movie's always going to get criticized.
I think it's a great movie, and it's just
It's great.
that's always gonna be there, and there's nothing. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it except keep doing what we're doing and defending it and talking about how much we love it.
She's like, I'm so done with it.
Yeah, and also, so I think it's probably time for me to go. Actually, my voice is kind of getting a little worn out. But thanks you guys for doing this. I felt bad because Fatma had to leave a little earlier. But thanks guys for taking the time to do this. I know today was kind of like we did this last minute. Didn't really have a topic until we already started the podcast.
Yeah, but it's fun. I'm glad we were actually able to do one this week at least.
All right, so if maybe you guys reintroduce yourselves to the podcast listeners.
So I'm Lily from Lily Loves Comics at Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Jean from Batch Activity on Tumblr.
And then, of course, you guys can find me at True Man of Steel on Tumblr. I did change my @ on Twitter. Now it's at True Man of Steel _ on Tumblr. Or on Twitter, I mean. True Man of Steel on Tumblr, of course. Nerd Nick here on YouTube. And then follow these amazing people. You can follow Fatma at StayAwesomeGotham22 on Tumblr. Follow anyone else in the podcast. You got, Greg Kung Lao. That's RTM. You can find him on Tumblr. Story Advocate is Katie. Danielle's Ace Social Justice League. Anyone else I'm forgetting, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for doing this with me again. It's always fun. And I can't wait until next week's podcast when hopefully more of us are around. And yeah, thanks again for doing this. And thanks again, everyone, for listening. I know this podcast wasn't the most organized, but I still had fun nonetheless, and I hope you guys did too. Again, follow me again on various social media accounts or subscribe to me here on YouTube. That'd be greatly appreciated. You can listen to all of our previous episodes up on the YouTube channel. Just look for the DC Films Podcast. You can find the whole list or the playlist for the DC Films Podcast. Share this video if you guys like it. Let people know the DCEU fandom that we're doing this. We'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and until next time, have a good one.